Is Mr. Beast really the villain that we all make him out to be with all these new crazy allegations? Well, in today's episode, we are going to uncover the truth and prove that some of these allegations were actually not true. Okay, so maybe you haven't heard that there's been all these crazy allegations against Mr. Beast. I'll just go through a couple of them real quick. Like, first of all, that he's faking things in his videos. That was early on. And that some of the competitions and stuff that you're doing are kind of faked or rigged for certain people to win, and that weren't actually following like the FTC guidelines or whatever. There's like rules, right, on sweepstakes and contests and giveaways and those things. So that was kind of the first thing that started to come out. And then new allegations came out, and all these allegations came from Dogpack 404. It's a Mr. Beast employee who created a YouTube channel, came out with 3 videos up to this point with all these different allegations. And the second one had an Mr. Beast employee as well talk about his experience working for Mr. Beast and being in a video where he was a contestant in a game show where he felt like he was being treated unfairly. They wouldn't turn the lights off. He felt like he was going insane. He had to run like a marathon on the treadmill. And basically that video was him complaining and just talking about how there was kind of like some negligence going on there. The last video that was released talked more about kind of the Mr. Beast culture of the company and how he hires people that have bad pasts, whether that's criminally or, you know, some sexual allegations, domestic violence. One was like the secret CEO of Mr. Beast had some allegations, James Warren, that he was big into domestic violence charges in the past. And then also there was a producer at Mr. Beast named LaCoy Hill who was basically kind of putting his assistants and other people in the company in some weird kind of sexual, weird situations, like booking a hotel room as they travel and there's only one bed they have to share, stuff like that. And he kind of had a creepy past. But yeah, so that's really what's happened up to this point. And the reason for today's episode is that, you know, one new piece of evidence has come out that was admitted by Dogpack 404 to be false. And that piece of evidence was against James Warren. I guess you can't call it evidence. It was a lie. So James Warren was sought to have a past of domestic violence. He was the secret CEO of this Dogpack 404 video that was literally titled like Mr. Beast's secret CEO or something like that. And I just want to go ahead and read the tweet that he put out admitting his wrong. So this is what he says. The 6 North Carolina criminal court cases were not for domestic violence. I still have some FOIA requests out, but alleged current Mr. Beast employee reached out to giving me their side of the story. I think this person is mistaken with a lot of details, but I do now believe the James Warren domestic violence case that circulated the office was most likely the wrong James Warren. Of course, none of my sources knew that. I tried multiple times to get in touch with the person who allegedly found the charges before making my video, and I just did not get a good response. I should have waited on the FOIA requests before mentioning the domestic violence charges allegations. However, I believe I was clear in my video that they were just allegations of charges. Charges are themselves unproven accusations, not convictions. I'm not a professional journalist or investigator. My goal is just to bring credible allegations to light so they can be properly investigated and people can be held accountable. I still believe there are other credible allegations involving James Warren that need to be investigated. All right, so I'm putting all that out there. We're here to talk about this domestic violence update against James Warren. And Grant, after reading that tweet right there, what's your impression?
Well, he definitely should not have included that in the video with James Warren. The fact they were still looking into the fact that it may not have been the right James Warren tells me he really just wanted to put out a bombshell video. And he created a narrative that is most likely false. And it sounds like they're still trying to get confirmation of that. But it sounds like it's heading in the direction of it not being true. And that sucks. I just feel like, you know, yes, he called them allegations or charges, but like that's a technicality. I think when you build this narrative, it all feels very convincing. You're ultimately telling a story to people. And people start believing that the story is true, and that ends up spreading false information. Now, Like you mentioned with the intro and all of the other allegations against Mr. Beast, I mean, clearly, like, the company as a whole, Mr. Beast as a whole, is not innocent. But what I think generally happens in situations like this is some troubling things come to light. You know, the gambling, the content centered around children with the gambling, even the sexual assault allegations with LaCoya Hill, or at least the, you know, the sketchy situations that employees have accused him of putting them in. Like, there's things going on that still seem like they're holding water. But that also, I think, speaks to the weirdness of allegations coming out. It's like we're kind of, as a society, as a grander community, having a conversation about all of this. Like, what is true? What does it mean? And kind of depending on the day or the week, whoever is crafting the most compelling narrative ends up being the one who is believed in that moment in time. So, like, it's almost weird that we talk about this. I mean, we could call it drama, we could call it allegations or whatever. But like, until the dust settles, like, what is that going to take? A year, 2 years? Who knows? We don't really know exactly what is true and what is not. And we're all just kind of speculating. I think it's worth talking about. It just is unfortunate that there are people's names tied to all of this. And it's like you're talking about real people. It's not like you're just gossiping about a cartoon character. So anyway, all of this to say, Dogpack 404 absolutely should have waited to include that in the video, or ultimately chosen not to include that in the video, because it sounds like it is the wrong James Warren. So, I mean, it's just weird, I think, when you have somebody like Mr. Beast, who is so huge and so renowned and beloved even. I think when troubling allegations come to light and they start kind of stacking up, it becomes a lot easier to start, like, accusing him of things, or people around him of things that may or may not have actually happened. It's just kind of like the narrative builds momentum, and it dogpiles. So, and there's still a lot of troubling things that happened, major issues, but like, this is a big example of, like, can we believe all of it? It's like, what, you know, I think when the dust settles, we'll have an idea of, like, okay, that was true, that was not, that was kind of true, that was exaggerated, that was a lie, like, and then the court of public opinion kind of forms. Some people will not side with Mr. Beast. Some people will just kind of be over it. Some people won't care. I mean, that seems to be the trajectory of all of these things.
I think that there needs to be consequences for putting fake allegations out there, because that kind of stuff can really ruin someone's credibility. James Warren, you know, James Warren now is never going to get another job in the creator economy because people think he's got a past of domestic violence. And the thing that bothers me about it is that they're just digging and digging and digging, and like, they're digging so hard that they're basically creating a narrative that's not true. Because part of the reason this allegation was false is because the informant, the source for Dogpack 404 on this specific allegation, even says in her video, I don't know if it's who she is exactly, if she worked for the company. I think she did. But she even said, like, oh, I'm a great, you know, internet researcher. And I was, you know, looking on Facebook. I was looking at people's personal profiles. And I was really trying to do my due diligence to make sure that, you know, but if you're looking hard enough, you're going to find something. And the fact that they said, well, you know, there's 10 people in that state named James Warren. One of them had these allegations, or one of these had these charges of domestic violence. So it had to have been him. And that's what they just ran with. It's kind of like, that's crazy. Like, that's not evidence in any way. So like you just said, more stuff's going to come out that's not true. But it seems kind of like Mr. Beast is kind of trying to take the high road, not respond to any of this, because he hasn't yet. So will we ever know the truth of what was true and what was false? Maybe not. like we might not ever know the truth. I mean, do you think that there's going to be a reply soon, or do you think this thing's just going to keep dragging out? I mean, it looks like Dogpack 404, his last video was 3 weeks ago. The first one he released got 15 million views. The second one got 12 million views. And the third one got 3 million views. And that was from 3 weeks ago. So what's next?
I expect Mr. Beast to not respond. And I mean, at least in this case, like, Dogpack 404 is, metaphorically speaking, hanging himself on his own noose by saying these things that aren't true and by not doing due diligence. And I think the more accusations against Mr. Beast that end up being false, the less seriously people are going to take anything that actually did happen. And that's just sort of how it works. I think it all sort of, things cancel out in people's brains. And that isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing, but I do think if you are doing investigative journalism, like you have a responsibility to actually investigate and to actually get your sources right. So yeah, I don't expect Mr. Beast to respond. I think he's just going to keep letting Dogpack trying to spin this narrative, or not even spin it, but like try to tell his side of the story. And, you know, at least right now in this moment in time, it's not looking good for Dogpack. So why would Mr. Beast respond? It's going in his favor. He's only going to draw more attention to it and more credibility to it by responding. I think he did respond in the very beginning, right? Like, I thought he made a tweet.
He made a tweet to the Chris, or not Chris, Chris, or whatever her name is, who used to work for, Ava, a response on that situation where there was some weird messages going out to underage minors. So he did respond to that, but you know, it was a PR response, totally not even written by him. Maybe it was, but okay. So, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about the next thing that's recently popped up in just a few minutes, as far as, you know, he is being sued officially now. So this is another kind of breaking news right now that just happened. But first, the question is, you know, how has this even impacted his channel? Because you and I, we released a video. I think the title was why Mr. Beast is losing subscribers. And we just got a bunch of comments like, he's gaining subscribers. What do you mean? Look at his social blade. He's gaining subscribers. You know what? Clickbait. But people are going to his channel and unsubscribing. And so I just want to talk about how this has affected his channel. I'm here looking at viewstats.com right now on his channel. And I can see that in the last 3 months, he has gotten 29 million subscribers. He has gotten 6.4 billion views, but that's down from the 90 days before that. So the previous 90 days before this little 90-day block right now, he had gotten 13 million more subscribers than 29 million. So you can do the math on that. That's like 40. He gotten 42 million subscribers. Now he only got 29. And his views are down. His views are down 945 million views. So almost a billion less views in the past 90 days compared to the 90 days before that. So I do think there is something going on where people are watching his videos less. And subscribing less. So I think that's the impact. Do you think there's going to be do you think this is going to be exponential? Do you think this is going to continue to go in that trajectory? Or do you think this is just maybe due to the number of uploads or the type of uploads he's had? Or do you think this is directly related to this incident?
I think it's partially related to this incident. I am curious how often he's been uploading. My understanding is he hasn't been uploading as often. I think partially perhaps as a response to this, of kind of like he's releasing enough to keep some momentum, but not so much that he's like getting lots of attention. So like, at least on that level, it's affecting him. It's affecting the channel.
Seems like it is, yeah.
Yeah. Like clearly something is going on where his views are going down, and it's not a coincidence that it coincided with all of this. Now, will it continue to go down? I mean, I don't think he's going to crash and burn ever. And certainly not anytime soon. I don't think he's going to exponentially go down. I think he is probably going to reinvent himself in some kind of capacity, whether that's like leaning really hard into his Amazon show, or whatever it is, revamping his content on YouTube somehow to make it more sustainable, where he's not having to like make these huge gambles every video. Maybe he's going to fix that on the back end, where the company itself is generating more revenue through festivals, or I know he launched like a new Lunchables, basically. So basically, I think all of this has challenged him. It has destabilized him somewhat. And he is in the process of building the back end to further stabilize the company so that it doesn't have to rely on these huge gambles. And even situations like this aren't going to affect it as much. So I don't think he's going anywhere. I think in the long run, he's not going to continue to like go down and down and down. He might kind of plateau where he is, maybe go down a little bit more in the short run. But then I think at some point he's probably going to ramp it back up. He's going to release more content and he's going to be number one again. Will he be number one forever? Probably not. Nobody is. But yeah, I don't think this is going to take him down by any means. And I think what has happened is before all this, there was a mystique around Mr. Beast. He was kind of untouchable. He was the guy. He was the YouTube golden boy. And now, like, clearly some sketchy stuff has happened. And now Mr. Beast is no longer a god. He is a human who has succeeded, sometimes with tactics that are less than savory. But he's also done some good things. I mean, Mr. Beast Charity has done good things. There's criticisms of kind of how they go about things, how well they maintain after, you know, they leave a place. But like, it's a mixed bag, and people are mixed bags. That's how humans are. And he is no longer this demigod. He is now Jimmy. He is less so Mr. Beast.
Yeah, and he's going to get all the training. I mean, really, his main mistakes, I feel like, have been more as a CEO, mistakes of being a 25-year-old CEO of a $500 million company. Like he just needs training in that regard, especially with the culture that he's built around there, a lot of misogyny and stuff. But you did mention the Beast Games, and that is his new show on Amazon where the winner gets $5 million. It's like supposed to be the biggest prize for any game show of all time. And the contestants were complaining. They said there was some neglect that was happening. They weren't getting fed, all these different things they were complaining about. And that's the lawsuit that has just recently come out. Someone has officially, I think multiple people have officially sued him and the company for that experience there. And yeah, I mean, the video that I watched that kind of described it was a woman talking, saying, you know, I don't think it's right that you put $5 million in front of somebody that really needs the money and then basically torture them in order to get it. And so that seems like the premise of this lawsuit. We'll see if I think if this lawsuit goes through and he ends up losing this lawsuit, then this could be really the only, I'm hoping, the only negative, like I guess official thing that happens to him where he gets, you know, loses money. Maybe, I doubt there's any jail time, but stuff like that. So what do you think about this lawsuit? You think, I mean, obviously you don't know, but do you think that it holds any weight?
I mean, I guess it depends on the extent of the torture. You know, as far as people not getting fed, I mean, that's not good. That is clearly an organizational issue that has real consequences. Like, I don't think anybody was trying to starve anybody. Like, to me, that sounds more like a Tanacon situation than a, you know, a malicious situation.
Yeah.
Poor planning
right.
is what I'm getting at here. And, you know, that I think is more forgivable. As far as like torturing people for money, I mean, look at Fear Factor. Like,
same
people
thing,
love
dude.
That show. Like, you eat bugs, you might get some money. Like, isn't that kind of what most game shows are? I mean, yeah, we have Jeopardy, we have Wheel of Fortune, but there's always been shows where people are risking life and limb, but there's like a safety crew and they're trying to make it safe, but it's kind of like, the question is like, how far in the direction of unsafety did it go? And I'm skeptical that he's going to lose this lawsuit, honestly. Even just having Amazon's lawyers, you know, on his side, you know, I kind of doubt that the lawsuit is going to take him down. I'm skeptical.
Yeah,
I truly
me
am.
too. Yeah, I was just gonna say, me too. I think that if anybody gets hit with a big fine, it's gonna be Amazon, right? I mean, who's in charge here? I don't know. I don't know how the productions of these things actually work legally, but I will say this, that it's making a lot of noise, right? A lot of people are talking about the lawsuit now. It was even on like mainstream media, not just in this YouTube community. This show's going to blow up, man. This show's going to blow up. And I want to watch it now. I'm like, wait, these people are being tortured? Like, I kind of want to see what this is about. Like, how hardcore was this? Kind of like piqued my interest a little bit on the show. Before I was thinking like, this is just going to be some kind of kids show. But in the Colin Samir interview, Jimmy did say, this is going to be the most extreme thing that we have ever done. And they're investing $100 million into the show. So, yeah, I hope it does come out. And I hope that in the end, it's just a bunch of people being kind of soft. You know, I hate to say that because I don't want, if they were actually abused, then that's wrong. But when I look at Jimmy after all this stuff, I kind of see him as like a Kobe Bryant. Like I look at him as like a Michael Jordan. Like nobody wanted to be on Michael Jordan's team or Kobe Bryant's team because they were hardcore. Like the culture that they kind of had on their team was like elitist, you know, like you're either working your hardest, doing your best and handling your business, not drinking soda, being on time, or you're going to get on their bad side. And that's kind of like the culture that Mr. Beast has. Unfortunately, it's not sports. It's like just kind of a little bit maybe mentally weak people. I mean, the guy in that interview, in the Dog Pack interview on the second video, like I wouldn't say that was the most mentally strongest guy. Like he obviously had a few issues that he was dealing with. And yes, it's sad that the things that happened to him, I don't want to discredit all that kind of stuff. But me just looking at this whole thing, oh, Mr. Beast and his culture and this, like, oh, he says that don't take no for an answer. Like he just means like, get the job done, you know? And, you know, and with that kind of Kobe mentality, like, I don't know, maybe it's not good in the business world these days. That's all.
Yeah, and I think right now there is a general skepticism of business getting done at all costs.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen consequences of that with the environment and everything. True. And I think that is in the air. There are fair points to be made about that. And as far as like people being soft in the Amazon show, I kind of agree with you. Again, it really depends on like the specifics that are going to come out. But also it's like you're getting $5 million. Like, what do you think? You think it's going to be easy? Like, I don't know. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I feel you on that. I think people nowadays can be very soft. Or they're just like, you know, maybe she lost and she wants some kind of payout. Maybe she does really need the money. Again, just speculating. I don't know. But I am open to what happens, and I do think you're right. Jimmy is a Michael Jordan of sorts, a Kobe Bryant of sorts, and you know, you don't get to his level without being extreme.
Yeah,
you just don't. And I think whenever we see huge successes like this, it is exceptionally rare that they have never stepped on somebody's toes, that nobody has a legitimately bad story about them. Like the Mr. Beast employee who was basically in solitary confinement for like a month where they didn't turn the lights off. I mean, that sucks. That's really bad. And there's like a hot tub that isn't getting filtered and it smells bad. Like none of this is good. No. This is all bad stuff.
Yeah.
But like, he's doing so much. He's succeeding, he's making mistakes, he's hurting people, he's helping people, he's getting shit done. There's always consequences for that. So, you know, I think it's like we don't want to belittle the people who have been hurt, but we also don't want to be too soft, I guess, and just like dogpile. So, you know, life's weird, man. Like things are so complex. This has definitely affected my opinion of Mr. Beast negatively. I think pretty much everybody has, but like, again, I just see him as a human now. And before I knew he was a human, but like, I didn't really know what was behind the veil. we hadn't seen behind the veil before. We've seen the Wizard of Oz now. There he is. There's Jimmy. And he's getting shit done, let me tell you.
Yeah, I think that's all valid points right there, and a great way to end the episode. We'll see where this thing goes. If there's any updates, we'll bring them to you guys. So if you guys want those updates, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, you can hit the follow button on there as well. And thanks for listening or watching. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Later.